As an introvert, I hate events, let alone large ones. Besides, I don't have the money to afford going state to state, country to country to just rave and be a part of mosh pits. Good thing I wasn't, but what's not a good thing is that these things happened, and the unfortunate ones got unfortunate, unfortunately. Just because these things happened doesn't mean every large event is gonna be like this, where it's like the end of Shakespeare's Macbeth. If you're that outgoing, then participate in all events that your heart desires. Boston Marathon bombing, 15th of April, 2013. The Boston Marathon is a tradition of the most Irish Americans ever in Massachusetts. It's done every after Patriots' Day since 1897 until now to remember the battles of Lexington and Concord, but we're not doing that historical bit. Now, there were thousands of people who joined this 26.2-mile event, and it was a perfect day to run a bombing activity. At 2:49 in the afternoon, a lot of the people who joined were getting close to the finish line on Boylston Street near Copley Square. The first surprise happened. An explosion happened outside Marathon Sports. 14 seconds after that, the second tower was hit, the second bomb. The second bomb exploded a couple of hundred yards from where the first bomb kaboomed. It was found out that the bombs were made from pressure cookers filled with nails, ball bearings, and other sharp things. If this wasn't a terror attack, 9/11 definitely was. This act of terror killed a 29-year-old, a 23-year-old, and even an 8-year-old. The kaboomings didn't only eliminate 3 people, but also injured 264 people, with 17 being one step closer to Nick Vujicic losing their limbs. Everyone was confused as hell with these 2 explosions, and everyone started helping everyone. After the event, investigations were conducted involving more than 1,000 personnel. Hey, I found something. What is it? Let me see. There's a leftover Twinkie here with no bites yet. Are you by any chance stupid? We're looking for clues, not food. How did you even land this job? Well, it's because I also found this CCTV footage. I also found these photos. How about that? Good. Let's send these to the FBI. Will you put that Twinkie down? I can treat you to a McDonald's instead. Irish people probably like that because there's a Mac in McDonald's. Sounds perfect. After the investigation, the FBI released the photos of the 2 male suspects on the 18th of April. The 2 men were identified later on as brothers. Their names were Tamerlan and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. The older brother was Tamerlan, 26 years old. The younger one, who was probably convinced to do the bombings, was Dzhokhar. He was 19 that time. They were immigrants from the Soviet Kyrgyzstan and lived in Cambridge with their family. Sounds like a happily ever after, had they freaking lived normally. They were arrested, but these 2 brothers must have felt like Michael Scofield and Lincoln Burrows, but more violent, because on the night of their arrest, they killed MIT police officer Sean Collier while they were trying to yank his service weapon out of him. After sending the officer to the afterlife or oblivion, you choose where he goes. The brothers stole an SUV, giving them a taste in cars. Correction, a bad taste in cars. We need a getaway car. I see a Pagani over there. There's also a Lambo and a Koenigsegg. Those are fast cars. Should we get in one? No, Mudak. They look too fancy. We need to be hidden. Let's go to that Mercedes. Ew, but okay. There's a person in here. Don't kill me, please. I will be a very good boy, and I will not let the motherland down. Well, withdraw some money now. Okay. Help. Those 2 Kyrgyz-looking people took my car. What did the car look like? It's a Mercedes SUV. Ooh, but okay. Where are we going now? NYC, baby, let's go! You like New York City? Oh, prepare to be disappointed. Whatever. They, of course, will not get away with that. A manhunt was set up looking for them in Watertown, Boston. Surrender now, or we will shoot. Oh yeah? I'm bulletproof. Nothing to lose. Fire away. And if they thought the cops were joking, they were wrong. Tamerlan became a target practice and was shot a lot of times. Meanwhile, Dzhokhar over here was too scared seeing his brother take bullets for the Faye and started driving. It doesn't matter what happens, as long as he gets away. You want to know what happened next? He ran over his brother, who then died from everything he took, thinking he was John Wick. I'm sorry, Tamerlan, but you're no Baba Yaga. Dzhokhar drove off and abandoned the tasteless car and hid in a docked boat in a backyard in Watertown. I wonder what's going on outside. What is in my boat? It's a person, with blood. Well, all people have blood in them. Mine's just pouring out like crazy. The boat owner, of course, reported that to the authorities, and they had a standoff with the younger brother. I don't feel like saying the name anymore because it sounds like Joker, and I respect Heath Ledger, so no thanks. They found out that he wrote a note inside the boat saying, "We did the bombings because US military bad. They attacked the Muslim countries." He also said that he and his brother weren't in any terrorist groups, and they were quote-unquote self-radicalized. They learned how to build bombs from an online magazine posted by Al-Qaeda. In my humble opinion, self-radicalized is what you call yourself if you're not big enough to be a terrorist organization, but here we are. Boston was shut down, off limits to literally everyone when the manhunt was happening. People were ordered to stay in their homes, public transportation was also stopped, and it was not in vain cause they caught Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. He was charged 30 federal offenses, like the use of a weapon of mass destruction and malicious destruction of property, resulting in death. Guilty, says he when he pleaded in July of 2013. He was found guilty on all counts in January of 2015, so they sentenced him to death in June of the same year. But up till now, the younger Tsarnaev is still alive because the two members of the jury were considered biased. I wonder how this one will go. Tiananmen Square protests, 1989. The Chinese government tried covering this one up to the best of their abilities because they want to believe that nothing happened in Tiananmen Square in 1989, as if there was no war in Ba Sing Se. But digital footprints. Yeah, you can't run away from that one, so take that, Chinese government. It happened. Oh yeah. This series of protests was known as the June 4th incident. It started off as students that had enough of their government. "We want change," screamed the students who wanted political reform, freedom of speech, and an end to the corrupt government. What happened? Why are there so many students that want me out? They're supposed to be stupid, right? Well, our general secretary died. You know, Hu Yaobang. He got a heart attack, and the students looked up to him. Hu Yaobang's death on the 15th of April 1989 was mourned by thousands of students in Tiananmen Square in Beijing, with a side of hatred towards the government. The days went by, and the protests grew in size, and it became a lot more intense, and at the tail end of April, students from universities all across Beijing became a part of these massive protests.
How many were there?
Oh, it's been a while, Hoopla. How's it going? Hey, still don't care about you. But to answer your question, it was about 50 to 100,000 students that marched through the Beijing streets. Police lines were broken, and people were actually supporting these protests. I mean, as they should, China was hell under Mao Zedong. Because of this public support, factory workers and even normal citizens became avid fans of the protests. And then May 13th came. China was visited by Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, and Chinese students weren't having any of that BS. The students organized a hunger strike that started on the 13th of May, and by the next day, surprise, Deng Xiaoping! You got 300,000 people hungry in Tiananmen Square. Since this was during Gorbachev's stay in China, international media outlets covered the hunger strike and broadcasted it for the whole world to see. I can feel the leader Deng Xiaoping's pressure 35 years in the future from this in-and-out China. I declare martial law in Beijing. Ooh, scary, scary. Then the troops for People's Liberation Army were sent to disperse the people protesting. I mean, China already had more than 1 billion people in 1989. So the army must have been 1:1 with the protesters. Should be light work for them.
Not.
The first wave of troops were blocked by citizens who talked them out of it by offering food and water, and it stayed like that for several days that the PLA weren't able to get to the square immediately. AW for the protesters. Deng Xiaoping was like, "You know what? I hate this. I hate the people who don't like me. Let's start blasting like Danny DeVito." And then the PLA troops began to forcibly go through the barricade of supporting citizens using tanks on the 3rd and 4th of June. After all, what human can stop a tank from running over hundreds of thousands of people? I'll tell you who. This guy, the single most badass tank man stopping 4 tanks while holding groceries. He probably got run over, but this picture is so badass. On the 4th of June, around 1 a.m., the PLA troops started firing on the protesters who were mostly unarmed. If they didn't die with bullets, they died getting run over by tanks. After the massacre-like happening, China was booed by many countries like the US. We will impose sanctions against China because China bad. Yeah, us too. Today, China still denies talking about the Tiananmen Square massacre to hide the fact that it happened. Very great Avatar reference though. Tiananmen Square massacre, no war in Ba Sing Se. I see the resemblance. Ultra Stampede, 2006. I didn't mean it as in Ultra Stampede. I meant it was a stampede that happened in Ultra. You still don't get it? Let me explain. The Ultra Stampede happened on the 4th of February 2006 outside the Phil Sports Arena in Pasig City, Philippines. The reason for this was because some show called Wowowee, a TV show produced by the network ABS-CBN, known for giving cash prizes and giveaways, celebrated its first anniversary. In hindsight, this show was like Oprah, except it's with a host that likes to elbow his women co-hosts' chests. The show was for the masses, and that attracted this big number of people to go to the Ultra Arena for the show as early as the night before the actual thing happened. Thousands of fans started to gather outside the arena with the hopes of securing a spot for some cash and whatever they could get. On the morning of the tragedy, there were about 30,000 people waiting outside the arena. No proper line, no organization whatsoever. They were all just crowded outside. Not even all of them could get in cause the arena's capacity was only 9,000. The crowd were from many walks of life, mostly from a poverty-stricken walk cause, well, Philippines. Oh, and this freaking happened. The gates to the arena were open just a little bit to hand out raffle tickets for some prizes, and then back to close it was. The crowd was like, "What was that? Let us in." And then the guards were like, "No, take the raffle tickets so you can win a prize or something. I don't know, I just work here." When the words raffle tickets were mentioned, holy crap, all hell broke loose. The people at the front took tickets, and the people at the back forced their way to the front to get tickets for themselves too. All the pushing, shoving, some more pushing and shoving happened just to get some raffle tickets, and oh my goodness, crowd control was non-existent during this time. Since the people at the back collectively pushed their way to the front, the people in front near the entrance were crushed. Like it was so scary that some reports say that the crowd power snapped the gate locks, opening it. Open dates? Open dates? Open dates? Open dates? Open dates? Open gates? Oh no, the gates were opened. And even if the gates were opened just a little bit, the people pushed their way through so they could get in the arena. Ta-da! Stampede. People tripped on each other, and a huge chunk of the crowd stepped on other people just to get in. One survivor described how people in front were already dead on the ground, and the several thousand others didn't know what was happening, so they just kept stepping on bodies. The stampede killed 73 people who wanted to get cash from the host, and about hundreds were injured. Even after the stampede, other people were like, "Hey, that wasn't me, they can step on each other. I'm getting my raffle ticket and my cash." Welp, bad ending. Victoria Hall disaster, 1883. Old era's time, 'cause why the heck not? From the title, it's, well, a disaster in Victoria Hall. So there was this big event that was promoted as a spectacular show for children. There's comedy, there's magic, there are performances. This is beginning to sound like Britain's Got Talent, minus the unfunny British jokes. One specific performance here was the Fays of Tynemouth. It's a brother-sister duo of Alexander and Annie Fay, and it was dubbed as the greatest treat for children ever given. Like, come on. No way you're keeping your children from a performance with that name. It's not Drake who's a certified lover boy. Certified something. Wop, 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 wop. This day, the Fays performed in front of 2,000 children ages 3 to 14. All right, kids, did you enjoy the performance? I know you did. To make your way back home enjoyable, we prepared special prizes for children with special numbered tickets as you all go for the exits. Come on down. That was a bad idea, I'm telling you. This announcement made the children even more excited, especially those who were seated at the upper parts of the gallery. They thought they'd miss out on the prizes, so the kids hurried down to the exits, using the narrow stairway to a single exit door at the bottom. The door at the bottom of the staircase was made so only one child at a time can pass through. But it was locked tight. The children who were in front of the door got crushed by the children from the upper seats. Hey, the children weren't the ones at fault here. They are children. They get excited for a prize. They hurry up getting the prize. If anything, it's the adults' faults for not managing the event properly, knowing that something like this would happen. By the time that a lot of children were already dead, only then that the adults came to help with the situation. Due to proper childcare non-existent in the UK back in the 1800s, they guided the other living children to go to another exit. The incident killed 114 boys and 69 girls. Tragic event it was, and it was a tragic event for sure. A relief fund was given to the families of the children who died during the event, and a memorial was built in Bishop Wearmouth Cemetery to remember the children who died. This memorial was later moved to Mowbray Park. Indiana Fair stage collapse, 2011. Even if you're smooth as Tennessee whiskey and as sweet as strawberry wine, if your man gets to the long black train, you'll be digging up bones. My country buffness showed up trying to build up the scenario of this event. The Indiana State Fair is a long-standing tradition of the state to showcase what they have to offer. Other than the Indiana Pacers, Indy 500, and country music, I've no idea what else they have to offer. Maybe I haven't been to Indiana that often, but whatever. So thousands of people got to the fair on the 13th of August 2011 for the festivities. It would have been a good time if it wasn't for the weather. Reports said that heavy storms and winds were possible that day, but the fair didn't have any proper contingencies for these instances, and they weren't able to announce this to the attendees fast enough. At 8:40 in the evening, while Sugarland was performing, a strong wind went by and said, "Nice roof you got there. I wonder what will happen if I do this." It hit the temporary roof structure at 70 miles an hour, or 110 kilometers an hour, making it collapse. The stage broke down so fast that the people below it didn't have the time to react. I mean, they weren't cats, so of course the reaction time was slow and it caused a lot of damage. 7 people died from the bad stage engineering and a lot more were injured. Rain, go away. Come again another day, I guess. Heysel Stadium, 1985. You have no idea how many pronunciation videos I've watched just to say some of these names correctly, cause come on, who has heard the word Heysel and not think of the spelling as H-A-Z-E-L? Don't mind how I said the third letter, it's a force of habit. But anyway, Heysel is the national stadium of Belgium. Oh, that's why it's spelled that way. Europeans. The teams who played against each other were Juventus and Liverpool in the Euro Championships. The typical football club face-offs. But what do we think of Tottenham? I'll let you answer that one in the comments. This stadium was in a less than ideal state in 1985, and it hasn't been maintained well since the 1930s. A large chunk of the stadium was crumbling to bits, and the walls were too weak that Liverpool fans kicked holes on the walls to get in without having to buy tickets. Heysel Stadium wasn't a great venue, and why UEFA chose this stadium for the final showdown is beyond me. On the day of the kickoff, the stadium had around 60,000 fans, with the majority of Juventus fans being in Section Z, a spot in the place for casuals who support neither teams and just spawned there to watch. Again, don't mind how I say the letter Z. An hour before the start of the match, Liverpool fans in Section X and Juventus fans in Section Z started becoming more and more riled up. Your team sucks! Your country sucks! You suck! Go cry to your Italian mommies and sing Bella Ciao instead. I'll break some spaghetti in front of you so you can cry about it. Pizza tastes good with pineapples, bruv. Ma che cazzo dici? Your team only got here because they paid UEFA for this. We're gonna win, so sit down, vaffanculo. And here we go. The trash talk only got worse when you come to think of the fact the supporters were only separated by a chain fence that's not even thick enough to hold anyone down, and a police line on no man's land. The riled-up fans started to throw flares, bottles, and stones at each other, because that's how big football is in Europe. Liverpool fans then broke through the fence and attacked the Juventus side. Italy versus UK fighting? I've seen this before on a major world event that happened from 1939 to 1945. The Juventus fans were trapped by a barrier in front of the section, so they retreated, but got crushed by ever-aggressive Liverpool fans, all while being hit. To get their revenge, it's Juventus fans' turn to attack, so they pushed forward. As a football casual who only knows Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi, this is wilder than what was actually going on in the field, that the police even tried to separate the fans. By the way, Juventus won 1-0 if you're interested in that. About 600 people were injured and 39 people died from the Axis versus Allied football fan clash. After the Euros, UEFA blamed the English fans for what happened. Margaret Thatcher, may you not rest in peace, also condemned these actions by the Liverpool fans, ironically. UEFA banned all English clubs from the Euros until the 1990 to 1991 season. These wild series of events had some legal actions happening too. 14 Liverpool fans were sent to Belgium for involuntary manslaughter and violent support for Liverpool. They served 3-year sentences for it. LOL. Hyatt Regency walkway collapse, 1981. Dang. There are some collapses in this video, I gotta say. The Hyatt Regency Hotel opened in 1980, and it looked like the future of the past. It has 3 suspended walkways that connected different floors, so it was an innovative engineering and architecture for its time. On the evening of July 17th, about 1,600 people T-danced. T-danced? What the heck is a T-dance? T-dance? T-dance. Oh, okay, well that was literal. Okay, I see. So 1,600 people T-dance with many attendees standing on the 2nd and 4th floor walkways. 7:05 p.m. and boom. The 4th floor walkway broke because of the collective weight of the people standing on it. The 4th floor walkway fell on the 2nd floor walkway, which was directly on top of it, and the 2nd floor walkway also broke. So both walkways fell to the ground floor lobby. Bodies splattered everywhere. Blood all over the camera now. Thanks. The rescue was fast. I gotta give it to them. But it lasted so long cause of the debris being everywhere. It took 14 hours for everyone to be saved. One of the survivors nearly drowned after the broken sprinkler system flooded the lobby. 114 people died and 200 were injured from this event, so Hyatt Hotel had to close down and renovate. 3 months after the incident and a $5 million reconstruction, they reopened as potentially the safest in the country. They didn't have the audacity anymore to call the safest, which was a good move. I know these accidents don't happen a lot, but I'm still not going to go out.